Good morning and welcome to MasterMind Minutes. My name is Gary Occhigrosso. I am the founder and managing partner for Franchise Growth Solutions, and you can learn all about Franchise Growth Solutions. Just click the link above or below, depending on whatever platform you're watching. And for those of you not familiar with Mastermind Minutes, it's really simple. It's one guest, one question, one expert answer in minutes, not hours. And of course, since the guest will probably incite more questions, you can always reach out to them directly if you want to learn more about what they do and how you may be able to connect with them. We will give you all of the contact information at the end of the program, as well as posted on the social sites. Well, today, my guest is actually, in all transparency, a client, but I consider him a friend, and we've become friends over the last few years. A gentleman named Hector Westerband. And Hector is actually coming to us today from San Juan, Puerto Rico, where at least it's very sunny. It's kind of a little overcast day here in New York. But Hector has over 20 years of experience in the hospitality industry. He's worked with numerous restaurants from the bottom up, as a busboy all the way up to server positions. He worked in well-known establishments such as Ruth Chris Steakhouse. And I think we went to a Ruth Chris when we were in Florida last year. I don't remember. And the Palm, one of my favorites here in New York. And as an entrepreneur, he decided to start his own business as a tour operator of a company called Venture Puerto Rico, and he'll tell us a little bit more about that when he gives us more about his background. He worked servicing tourists and being a patron of Puerto Rico for more than 7 years. Hector acquired his undergraduate degree in small business and entrepreneurship from Phoenix University. Now, I know him, and he's very passionate about health. He's an avid surfer. He is a jiu-jitsu practitioner. As a matter of fact, whenever we're out at conferences, he always brings his gi so he can go and do his jiu-jitsu. And he was introduced to an amazing fruit called the Acai Stone Fruit. And that's really what inspired him to, or was part of the inspiration for him to start his business called Acai Express. And for those of you who follow me on LinkedIn, you see a lot of my posts about Acai Express. So Hector will tell us a lot more about that, and he'll tell us what he's doing when he's not running his business. So Hector, that was kind of a long introduction. Sorry, didn't shorten it up, but I want you to talk a little bit more about your background. And thank you and welcome for being with us today.
Thank you, Gary. Thank you for inviting me and having me on your show. Yeah, so like you mentioned, we started Acai Express in July of this next month, and it'll be 7 years. So in 2013, we started. I learned about acai because, like you mentioned, I love to surf. I practice Brazilian Jiu-jitsu, so I kind of knew about the acai berry through Jiu-jitsu. I tried it one day, and I, completely fell in love with the idea that something, that tasted so good was actually healthy for you. I always wanted to be a restaurant owner. Like you mentioned, I have, years of working in restaurants all the way from the bottom and up. And this seemed like a good idea for a way for me to start my own business, but not necessarily get involved in a huge restaurant endeavor where you'd have like chefs and all those things. So it seemed like a small enough thing for something that went well with my lifestyle. And so we opened up our first food truck in 2000. And 7 years ago, 2013. Since then, by the grace of God, we've been able to expand the brand to 22 locations. Those 22 locations, 20 are in Puerto Rico, and 2 are in the United States. Our average unit volume throughout nationwide is about 10 million in gross sales. We've employed over 200 employees here in Puerto Rico. And we offer a healthy product, so it's kind of a great scenario for the whole industry as a whole.
Yeah, it is, and again, I'm not touting it simply because Hector's my friend and Acai Express is my client, but I knew very little about acai as a fruit or as a product. When I went to visit Hector the first time down in, I guess February, a couple of years ago. We went out to some locations, and the product is absolutely spectacular. It's delicious. Whenever I'm down in the Morris County area, Rockaway, New Jersey, I make sure I stop in at our franchisees to get my acai fix. Um, and it truly is a great brand. And I know we've got two other units opening up soon here in the U.S., one in South Carolina and one in Florida. So that's also very exciting because we're kind of doing it in the middle of all of this stuff that's going on, and that's kind of like my question. Knowing you, I know you believe that your goal or goal, can't be stopped by current circumstances. As a brand, Acai Express, I know, went through two major crises. It went through Hurricane Maria in Puerto Rico, and now the pandemic. If you wouldn't mind, I guess the question, I'd love for you to share what you did as a company to help overcome, maybe support your franchisees, help your employees, the community at large. And then from that experience, what advice would you give to young up and coming entrepreneurs when they face a crisis? Because, as an entrepreneur myself, we all have these moments of crisis. So maybe you can tell us a little bit about kind of what the brand lived through with those two, Maria and COVID, and then what you learned and what you would share with young entrepreneurs about that.
Sure. Thank you, Gary. Great question. So actually, it was three crises. We had Hurricane Maria, earthquakes, and now
Oh,
COVID-19.
right. I'm sorry. I forgot
So
about
no,
the
you're
whole
good.
earthquake.
So we've been kind of like we keep getting the jab in our face over here in Puerto Rico, right? For Maria, it was something that was, for me, unprecedented. The first thing I did, after the storm passed, it was completely, catastrophic. I mean, it looked like a bomb pretty much went off on the island. We were without electricity for months. Some towns, were over 6 months without electricity. So, the first thing I did was, physically go and drive to each of the locations, contact the franchisees. In the beginning, there was no communication for a week or so, where there was no cell phone usage or anything. So you were really kind of in the dark. And that experience was, it allowed me to kind of restructure myself and focus on, roll up my sleeves and just focus on reopening, the next store. So in a way, for me personally, it gave me a purpose, instead of feeling sorry for myself and sitting in loathing, like, oh, I'm going to lose everything, which of course I had that fear. It just gave me a purpose to first take it one day at a time. And okay, right now we're going to go and open this particular store. So I assessed the situation, was able to communicate through all the franchisees. By the grace of God, none of our actual food trucks and food trailers here were too damaged. Most of us, here in Puerto Rico, because of that, we work with generators. So we were able to get operational. Actually, our first store opened 1 week after the hurricane. So that actually put us in a position to be able to be of service to people that were looking for food. There was a lot of, nothing was open. So it was basically, a huge opportunity for us as well in that aspect. Just communication was the key. In my case, I'm lucky. I have a mentor that has kind of guided me this whole time. You know him, Lyle, who's the founder of, or is a development agent for Subway here in Puerto Rico, over 200 stores. And he's also a man of faith, and he was always trying to teach me, Hector, everything happens for a greater good. Just learn what the rules of the game are and learn how to play the game with a new strategy. So, I was just trying to hold on to that and hold on to that faith that everything at the end, everything happens for a reason. Whatever that reason is, you don't know what it is right now. Just look down at your feet, put one foot in front of the other, and do the next right thing. So that's basically what I did as far as getting the franchise up and operational again after Maria. It took about almost a year to get back to kind of normal. And it was a blessing in disguise. Like I mentioned, our sales went up, 300%. All the stores, all of our franchisee store sales, went up 300%. It was tough, in the beginning, getting supplies. There was no fruit, everything, all the local produce was gone. We had to, work in close contact with our suppliers to make sure that, we could keep getting produce and keep getting products, in Puerto Rico. So, it was definitely an experience. So going through that for me, as someone that's very goal driven, I just saw it as an opportunity to just grow and focus on the opportunity. And that's what I did.
So what I'm hearing here, and I'm writing this down, because what I'm hearing, and in terms of how we can relate this to our question of, what advice you would give entrepreneurs when they face crisis. And I know that, I mean, that's kind of a tough thing. And here in COVID, during the COVID crisis, I know Puerto Rico was locked down, but your units were open as essential, because they're food
Yes.
establishments, and I know you have drive-throughs in a lot of your units, so that
Yes.
kind of was easy. So, or easier. I don't want to say easy, but I guess what I'm hearing is, you kind of embraced the situation. Obviously, there was some fear after the hurricane, and there was some fear with COVID, but you embraced it. You didn't run away from it. You didn't kind of duck and run, and you said, okay, so what's the strategy now? How do we deal with it? I'm hearing that you employed faith. I'm hearing that you employed hard work, that you didn't leave other people behind, that you supported other people and helped other people. And that in your head, in your mind, and in kind of what you were doing, you were always moving forward. There was no turning around going, oh my God, we can't do this, close, the world is over. Is that a good summary of what I think you just said?
Excellent. Better said than me.
Oh, no. You lived through it. I only hear it from you. Well, all right, Hector, look, thank you so much for being with us today. I really appreciate it. Anyone that's interested in Acai Express, you can go to their website, acaiexpress.com. You know how to get in touch with me. I'm always happy to talk about the brand. Hector's always, always willing to give guidance and support to folks. Hector, any last words you want to leave us with? Otherwise, we'll kind of wrap it up. Anything else you want to talk about that you've got going on in the works during all of this?
Yeah. So, we have 10 stores currently in development here in Puerto Rico. You mentioned 2 in the United States. We're looking for people right now, believe it or not, for us, even through this COVID situation, our sales are also up, 20% from last year, which is unexplainable. We sell a healthy lifestyle product. So a lot of people
Mm-hmm.
now, more worried about their immune system and, taking their health more seriously. I think that is also helping ourselves. I think it's also in the comfort food category. It's a cold product. You mentioned it's sunny here in Puerto Rico. Today it's like 95 degrees, so it's super hot here. So, people are looking for something to make themselves feel good and comfort themselves.
Well,
Besides that, I acquired another brand called Pinkies. Pinkies it's a local brand with over 20 years, experience here in Puerto Rico. They do wraps, sandwiches, smoothies. It's kind of like in the better breakfast category. So we're currently in the process of getting our first store open here next week, actually. So we're busy, man.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So
No,
I
no time for
guess
feeling sorry for yourself.
no. Listen. This is what I want to leave our audience with, okay? Because I mean, I know Hector now over the last couple of years. So just to kind of wrap this up, we got 10 new stores opening. We got a thriving business that's up in sales. You've acquired and you're launching a new brand. And this is all, and again, you're developing the franchise. And if we go back, 18 months, 24 months, Hector's doing this through hurricanes, earthquakes, worldwide pandemics. So, it's a testimonial to you, Hector, and your fortitude, but also I think it's inspirational to people who may be feeling a little down right now, and they're feeling a little, hey, maybe the world will never be the same. Hector's a great example of, what, if you got a goal and you got a purpose, you just keep moving forward. Hector, I can't really thank you enough for being with us today. You're my first client that I've had on this. I said, okay, so I want to have some folks on. Who do I think is going to be, inspirational and really kick this thing off the right way? And you've been all of that and more. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you, Gary.
All right. See you soon, pal.
Later, brother.
Bye-bye.
Bye.